the emergency meeting, September 2nd, 2021. Mrs. Cahall, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Grant?
Here.
Mr. Carpenter?
Present.
Mr. Guido?
Here.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
And Mrs. Stone?
Here.
Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 1.3, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No.
Thank you. Item 1.4, approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Before we get into section 2, communications, comments from the public, just to make a quick announcement, Mrs. Stone had a previous engagement before the emergency board meeting, so she'll be leaving around 6:30. So I just want to let everyone know. So seeing that we do have some comments from the public, I do have to read a little statement for everybody. Just give me 1 second. You think I can read that from here?
I got my cheaters.
I just turned 50. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The public may participate during comments from the public or when recognized by the board president or superintendent. Those wishing to address the board must fill out request forms provided at the meeting. These should be submitted to the treasurer before the meeting begins. Persons addressing the board must give his or her name and address, and there will be a 3-minute limit for addressing the board. Such requests shall be subject to the approval of the superintendent and the board president. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period for public participation at every regular board meeting and publish rules to govern such participation in board meetings. The presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the rules of the board for its conduct. Upon request to the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodations for a disabled person to be able to participate in this activity. Executive sessions may be proposed at any time during the meeting by any board member for any purpose authorized by law, and per policy 0166, public complaints about district personnel may be heard in executive session. Okay, with that said, Sherry Hornsby.
I would like to forego any discussion until after the conference.
Well,
I realize that we had to put something on paper if we wanted to have anything to say, but I'm not quite sure that I have anything to say, so I know what you want to say.
Okay. Is it Richard St. John? Is that the name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. I'll keep this relatively short.
Just need your name and address.
Richard St. John, 116 Nettleton Court. So I'm assuming that we're here to talk about universal masking in school, and I'm going to tell you pretty much flat out that I'm for it. My daughter's 8. She's in 3rd grade. She was 7 last year. She got COVID in November. She dealt with it for a month. She was just a shell of herself for a month. I got it at the same time. I got it worse than her, but that doesn't mean that she didn't have it bad. She dealt with lingering effects for the next 6 months. We took her to the doctor twice during that time because there were just random things happening to her body that could not be explained and did not happen prior to COVID. And if I'm being completely honest, before we came here this year, before we started the school year, I took her the weekend before and got an antibody test. That was how I was going to feel comfortable. She no longer has antibodies. So my daughter has the only protection she has is the mask that she wears and the mask that I hope other people are wearing around her. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bobby Drew.
So my name's Bobby Drew. I'm at 977 Garber Road. My son is also, he's 9, he's in the 3rd grade. He did not get COVID when I had COVID last year. He did not wear a mask unless he had to come to school. Your daughter was wearing a mask at school last year, correct? Okay, just curious. I am totally against masking my child. He comes home every day with spit and snot and who knows what else on that mask he's been wearing for 8 hours. You can pack him extra ones. Doesn't matter. It's disgusting and it's not healthy. I would like my child to breathe fresh air. I would like him to be able to smile at his classmates and see them smile back. God designed our bodies so that, I see people rolling their eyes, sorry. No, not you. Our bodies are designed to fight viruses, correct? So when a woman's pregnant and she's breastfeeding, if a baby is sick, the breast can detect that and say what the baby needs to help heal the baby. So why not let our bodies fight it? I had it last year and I'm here. Our kids, don't mask them. Please don't mask them. My kid is not going to wear masks to come to school. And if you send him home and he has to stay home from school, I'm going to quit paying taxes. I'll put him in escrow or something because I'm not going to pay for school where it's child abuse, if you ask me. And I don't agree with it at all. And that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin, is it Vinnick Thomas?
Hello, Mr. Grant and the board. My name is Justin Binnick Thomas. I live at 2042 Bridgewater Lane, some of your neighbors. I'm against the upcoming mask order. I'm really sad that you've locked the front doors to the building. If I haven't been here before, I would have not been able to be at this meeting. I feel that that's closed off public comment and it possibly has limited the number of people here. I want to state that before we get going. I'm disappointed also the amount of notice received. Mr. Grant, I know you stated you tried to send it by way of the media. They didn't post it, so we didn't see it. It wasn't on Facebook, which I don't have, until 1:30. It was on the website midday. That's not enough notice to be here. I'm in debt to lots of people to be here. I would like to ask a series of questions. I assume they're rhetorical since you didn't answer anyone else. But why is it an emergency now? You just met on the 23rd of August. It seems rather questionable that we have to now have a discussion today. Secondarily, we've now passed the means of where you get paid by the state for the enrollment numbers, as well as the ability to run or not run against you. So all of our avenues are now gone. And that's a little bit shady, to use the colloquial. Masks, we all know, don't help. They might feel good, but even the box says it doesn't work for a virus. And that's for the stuff they have in the hospital setting. The stuff our kids are wearing, if we're mandated, are much less than that. They're not any more than a t-shirt. I guarantee you a t-shirt is less dense than a box of medical masks. I hope that you'll consider getting into the Warren County project that was in today's paper. That seemed to be a reasonable middle ground between the two stances. I'm sure you're going to hear us on both sides very strongly. There's a middle ground in our neighboring county, and the neighboring county we actually have a piece of. And that allows for masking being a choice. It becomes mandatory instead of a quarantine for a period of time. I wouldn't love it, but I would understand that being a sensible middle ground. As we've been this year, I want to give a positive. I want to close on a positive. Both kids have been much happier this year than last. My youngest had anxiety problems as a result of not seeing the communication. In the classroom specifically, both kids have come home now with smiles. They've learned much more being able to see their teachers give them those nonverbal cues. When they do something right, the teacher smiles. When they do something wrong, they sort of grimace. That's vital to everyone learning, but it's particularly important in this age group, this demographic. And you're stealing that portion from them. They're still making up for lost time last time. You have a choice today. There are workarounds today, and I hope that you'll take them. and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Tara Martin.
Hi, I'm Tara Martin, 48 Ridgewood. I'm for the mask mandate. My son is 9. He has special needs. He doesn't have a choice. He doesn't get to choose. He has sensory issues. He can't wear a mask. I can't force him. I also can't do VLA because I'm not qualified to teach my child. I'm sorry. I'm gonna blame this on the pregnancy. But it's really scary to send your child who can't tell you they're sick every day to school with the heightened risk of coming home sick and not knowing until it's much later than several other people would be able to tell that their children are ill. I'm sure a lot of you saw the open letter that came out from the Children's Hospital, 6 of them today, urging people to make choices to mask, especially if they can't be vaccinated, which, as I stated, my son is 9. I don't get that choice for him. I understand that it's limiting for other children. I understand that it's difficult. I understand that this is a really important time in their life. I just want to try to keep my child healthy and for him to be able to have the same experience that other people's children have. So I just really want you to think about kids that don't have a choice, kids that can't speak for themselves and can't tell us when there's something wrong. Because with the Delta variant and the numbers that you're seeing for children in ICUs and at heightened risk, it's extremely scary for someone who can't ask their child how they feel every day before they send them to school. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, is it Godey? Godey?
Hello, I'm Matt Godey. Address is 225 Lynette Court. I don't have anything prepared because I heard about this meeting from a text message from my mom, who happens to follow somebody associated with the school. But I have 2 children in school, one in high school and one in the elementary school. And my daughter, who's in the elementary school, spent 3/4 of her kindergarten year having a blast, loving it. And then it was cut short, sent home. So that hindered her development. The next year with the mask, and the same as the last gentleman that spoke, she couldn't pick up on verbal cues, and she has behavioral disorder, and she has learning disabilities. And without being able to have that contact, the face-to-face, it hinders her growth, her development, the breathing issues, the bacterial issues. I'm sure you guys have kids. You know how clean and cleanly 7, 8-year-old kids are. So putting a piece of cloth over the face, I'm sorry, man, but it's a false sense of security. I mean, it is. That's all. There's been no medical evidence that.
Talk to us.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I feel for you, and I feel for the gentleman whose son was sick, or daughter. But I mean, where is the limiting principle? I know we're all parents, so we want to protect our kids, but how far do we go before we're hindering their development? And for a false sense of security, I don't think it's warranted. And for my son, he's actually been quarantined because somebody in contact with was tested for COVID and was positive, asymptomatic. So, and he also has ADHD and learning disabilities, and he doesn't do well without the verbal in-person teaching. And honestly, I'm working on it right now with my wife to where I can either stay home and probably be me staying home, homeschooling him, because I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sit there and put my kids in a mask. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone that spoke up and put their name in to speak. We do appreciate you, your comments, and take them to heart.
I understand it's answering now. I mean, kind of way, just
I mean,
Red letter.
yeah, Sherry. Okay.
My name is Sherry Hornsby. My address is 761 South Main Street in Monroe. My beautiful daughter came with me. She's been here since kindergarten. She recently had to quarantine, and she tested negative, and here she is. And we are non-vaxxers, non-maskers, but she is in her mask. What she said to me, she was next to a girl who was asymptomatic and tested positive. And so Haley was quarantined. My concern is, I realize that we all have differences, but first and foremost, I feel like we should be drawing together without all this animosity and meanness toward each other. You're my neighbors, and you're her friends and her classmates. Your children are her classmates and friends. And she's intelligent enough to decide for herself, which she did. And she said, I don't want to be quarantined again, so I'll wear a mask. Kudos to her. Outside here, she probably won't have it, but when she's in school, she understands the process, and she's going to do what is best for her because it's important. So I would say that. Second of all, I would say everyone who came up to this podium put their hands all over it. I don't see any hand sanitizer. I didn't see anybody leave the room, and we all expressed concern about our health and well-being. So I will say that. And then lastly, I would just say, I do have some concerns about we are not going to vaccinate in our home, and I respect everybody else's decision, but there is a lot that is coming to light about the vaccination and super spreading. And we've already heard 2 instances in here about exposure to asymptomatic students who have tested positive. So I wonder if we are doing anything to report back to the county this situation. If we are reporting back, if we know if these students were vaccinated or not. We're seeing colleges, Duke, UC, Miami, and a plethora of others who are closing, who are mandating vaccinations, that sort of thing. If it gets to the point of mandatory vaccination, we would have to withdraw. If it is mandating masks because we have a viable reason to believe that it's the best for our children, I don't think we have that. But we would follow suit, and we would support the school in whatever way. I just want us to have the information. I don't want us to withhold the information. If you have it, share it with us, and let us lean more toward you from a trusting standpoint to say, we're not just listening to 80 people from the Children's Hospital who band together and said, if we do this, it makes a great statement, because it doesn't make a great statement. It just really kind of solidifies that people are joining together in pockets and disseminating their opinion in large form without any fact. And that's what I'm looking for. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come back, and thank you for answering my message on a Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen Lucas.
I'm Christy Lucas. I'm at 626 Stillwater. I have a granddaughter who's in 2nd grade. I've worked in healthcare for a very long time. Working in healthcare, I know that if I have a patient who has a contagious disease, there has to be a doctor's order in place to wear a mask and any kind of protective gear. So a mask being a medical device, parents, school board, principals are not doctors. And I don't think that should be mandated by anyone other than a doctor. If I have to follow a doctor's order in a healthcare setting to wear a mask, children obviously don't need to have them because nobody hears a doctor to say that they have to wear them. Number 2, again, like it was mentioned, the mask that they wear, they specifically say on the side of the box that they're not preventative of COVID. They have to be specially fitted in order for that to happen. And I know with my granddaughter in particular, again, it was mentioned before, just the filth that comes off of them. There was a situation where one got traded on a bus because somebody's was cooler than another. And to touch your hands and your face and to do, you're going to pull it down and you're going to eat. You're probably not going to wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, do all those things. These kids have spent all summer and part of the school year in cheerleading and football and doing all of these extracurriculars where they're already together. And I think if the end game is to have this herd immunity or whatever, they have to be around each other. My one grandchild reads lips. So this child can't understand what's even being taught outside of the fact that, again, there's no facial cues to even be able to read lips. It can't happen. And I think just from a very basic fundamental rule standpoint, I have to do what's best for my kids and my family, just the way everybody else has to do what's best for their kids and their family. It's not my job to watch after everyone else's kids. And I think if people feel safe wearing a mask, let them, by all means. And if they feel better homeschooling, absolutely make that a choice. But I don't think that my grandkids, my kids, or any child should have to do that. And I think it's absolutely up to the parents. I'm from the old school. I spanked my kids growing up, and that may not work for a lot of folks. But I dare somebody to tell me I did it wrong because they're all very successful. And so I think it's up to me. And so I'm totally against masking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy Lucas?
Oh, that would be, I forgot to burn it. I am sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Oh, wait.
First of all, it's Shannon Miller, 205 Carson Road.
Hold on.
Oh,
Just get-
that's okay.
Yeah.
We kind of went out of turn because when I came out here, she was sitting down, and I think we had already started the meeting.
Shannon Miller.
I don't even know where to start, really. My first stance is like, I'm not pro or against anything. You do what you need to do for your family. Whatever you think you need to do for your family is what you need to do. But I feel like for my family, for the last year and a half or whatever, we all know, or we all feel, or masks don't work. We've all been in school, we've all been in the stores, we've all masked up, we've all done everything, and we've still caught COVID. So whether we wear one in school or not, or we will wear one in Target or not, you can catch it. That's the truth. Everybody has been mandated to wear a mask for the last year and a half, and we've still caught COVID. So, and now they're saying you can get COVID even though you are vaccinated. It's just a crazy situation. Nothing makes sense to me anymore, to be honest with you. I can tell you, honestly, my daughter has been in preschool for the last 2 years, and she has not worn a mask, and she has not caught COVID at all. She's been 4 and 5 in the last 2 years, has not caught COVID. I caught COVID, didn't have my taste or smell for over 2 months. She did not catch it from me. I took my vitamin C, my vitamin D, every vitamin they told you to take. She didn't catch it. We quarantined. She didn't catch it though, and I did my smell therapy and all that good stuff, but she didn't catch it. I know that's a crazy situation. I don't even want to go into that stuff, but she didn't catch it. My older daughter, who is in 4th grade, and one of the board members even knows her, she didn't catch it either. It's a crazy situation, but I can tell you we've never masked. They're not going to be vaccinated or anything. We keep up to date on our vitamins and everything like that, and they've never caught it, and they're going to go to school without masks, and they've never been sick. The only person who's ever caught it was me, and we keep up to date on our vitamins, and I'm going blank here because I don't do well at social media or social anxiety or anything like that. But I think that honestly, my fourth grader, when she did, we were scared when it first came out. I will tell you the truth, we were scared. And we masked up and we would go out to the grocery store. We would do everything. We would come home. We would,
Your 3 minutes.
sorry.
Finish it. Just
Yeah.
finish. I'll let you finish.
Like we
Just-
would like take her clothes off and everything, just like everybody else would, like you guys would, like I'm sure, like jump in the shower, do whatever, and then do, just like everybody else would, and wash off and then hurry up and get change clothes and all that other stuff. And we never caught it except for me, and then, but now we're not scared anymore. There's no reason to be scared anymore. There's no reason. Just take precautions. Wash your hands, and that's what I was going to say. My daughter, she has ADHD as well, and she's scared of clouds. And it's ruined quite a bit of stuff for her. But she talked to a counselor, and it helped her. And that's what I was trying to say. Talk to people about things, if you're scared of things, like talk to a counselor. Like I had to literally take her in Monday.
Thank you. You're well over your 3 minutes. I apologize. Thank you.
My bad.
No, you're good. Thank you. Is it Carrie Goss?
My name's Carrie Goss. I'm at 60 Trails Inn Drive. My first question is, the new notification of the COVID cases, why do we get it as a link? This drives me crazy. Last year it was just an email, it's in the body of the email. It's useless information because it says one or more people might have this. It literally tells us nothing. Thank you for the notification that somebody mysteriously in the elementary, junior high, high school has it. That's great, but it doesn't tell me that, hey, elementary, there's another case in the 5th, 4th, whatever grade. And I know we didn't do that last year, but if our numbers are rising, as a parent, I would like to know, hey, it's the 2nd grade, 3rd grade, whatever. That's just my opinion. But my stance on the mask is it's a parent's choice to mask or not mask. We mask at our house. My youngest daughter has an immune issue, and if she were to get COVID, we go straight to ICU. We don't get a choice. She actually has an anaphylactic reaction to viruses. When she gets strep throat and it's viral, off to the ICU we go. Last year we did the homeschooling thing. By the way, that platform is awful. Seriously, you guys need to reevaluate that, but I digress. When it comes to masking our children, it's our choice as parents how we want to do it. I let my children decide at 10 and 12. My 10-year-old chooses to mask because she doesn't want to go to the ICU. My 12-year-old, she asked to get vaccinated because she wants to create a bubble for her little sister, to keep her little sister safe. And regardless of your religious belief, your personal belief, it's our choice as parents to protect our children. And if I think a piece of cloth is going to protect my child, even if it's psychosomatic, we're going to do it. All I ask is that if you choose not to mandate masks, that we have better contact tracing or better communication for those of us who have children who do have a special need, because we already have a system at home. Prior to COVID, we were already somewhat antisocial, and knock on wood, we've not had to go to the ICU in 4 years because shoes go off, book bags get left at a landing. Everything is completely wiped down and cleaned before the kids come past the door. But the girls are back at school right now, and I can tell you, they love being back with their friends. But my biggest concern is the fact that there are parents who think that this is not real, that there's no science behind it, that doctors scientists have not proven that this is real. This is unprecedented. We've never had a pandemic in our current lifetime beyond SARS. So what you guys are doing, we appreciate, but I don't know, maybe my point is, maybe you guys might want to look at other school districts to see how they're doing better. Last year there were barriers. I don't know if those work because my kids weren't in school. But as a parent,
Finish.
just as a parent, I just want to say, you know, I appreciate what you guys are doing, but better communication or something, if you guys could please do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And lastly, Andrea Decker. Before you begin, Andrea, we had a few put in after the meeting started, and this will be the last one right here. Because we're supposed to accept these before the meeting, we accepted 4, and this will be the last one. What memo?
I say that.
Okay, if everyone wants to talk, that's fine, but I want to address that real quick, if I may. We gave a 24-hour notice, all right? Every school board meeting has a notification. We released it to the press by 3. Hold on, can I finish? We released it to the press. In my 6 years of being on the board, I love to have this many people at a board meeting. 6 years on the board, and I hate that it has COVID to have this many people come to a board meeting. For 6 years, I've had 2 people that normally come to a board meeting, but it's taken COVID to get everyone involved in the community, all right? And that's great. I'm glad to see everyone here. We are allowed to give 24-hour notice, released to the press. They did not, the Journal News, they did not put it in the paper because the Hamilton School Board is having an emergency meeting tomorrow. They were going to do a dual story. All right, if you want to get email notifications, that is easily done. And you will get an email notification before every school board meeting. And all you have to do is email Mindy Hawkins at the school, and you will get an email notification for every school board meeting. It was.
What is the email address again?
mhawkins@monroelocalschools.com. So,
Let's go.
all right, sorry, Andrea.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to address that because it's not the school. We did everything by law that we were supposed to. Go ahead, Andrea. Thank you.
Okay. First off, thanks everybody, the board members. Like, I'm not up there doing this job, so I appreciate all of you up there every single year over year doing this job. And Mr. Buskirk, I've already emailed you this year, but welcome to the district. So everybody's talking about mask mandates, and I'm also in the camp of I don't agree with them, but not because of a personal choice, but because like science also says that they are not effective. There was a JAMA study on mask mandates just recently saying 1 in 4 people did not even wear their mask correctly. Guarantee you your kids aren't wearing masks correctly. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. So I don't agree with the mask mandate. I don't even agree with the mask mandate based on the Warren County thing that came out. I've talked to Dave about this. I happen to see it in a group I'm in. Our superintendent is agreeing with the Warren County I guess, adjusted quarantine measures, which I'm like, that's great. It's a start. And basically, I'm sure one of them will talk about this tonight, but basically, if your kid is a close contact to someone that is positive, then you will have a choice to wear a mask for 10 days, or they'll have a choice to wear a mask for 10 days, or get a test or something like that to prove that they're trying to keep their classmates safe. I think that's reasonable. I don't agree with the masks, but I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. I don't think we need to ask Mike DeWine for permission to do anything, because he doesn't have any rights to basically tell our schools what they need to be doing. So the other thing is, with the current guidelines that we have, and this is my biggest thing, is with the guidelines, there's not any like credit or credence given to natural immunity. How many people in here have talked about their kids actually having COVID? Our body's T cells are not like a made up thing. This is not a myth. Our immune system can do their job. So if you're going to give all of these, concessions to the kids that are vaccinated to say, oh, if you're around a close contact, you do not have to also quarantine, I think that's completely absurd, because I have a friend in the ICU on ECMO right now with COVID, fighting for her life because she got COVID from somebody that had a vaccination, okay? I know COVID is serious. I have seen people die. My friend is fighting right now, but she got it from somebody that's vaccinated. So these quarantine guidelines also don't make sense, because if we're really for the kids' health, then we should be focusing on every child that can possibly transmit it. And so the vaccines do not reduce the transmission amongst other people. It just reduces your own severe symptoms in your lungs, and your lungs are the only thing that that vaccine helps with. It does not help with any neurological stuff, does not help with any gastrointestinal stuff. If you haven't done the research, please look up the research, because that stuff, it's not going to help you either way you go. Sorry, I'm like, my mouth's getting dry. I work at home all day, so I never talk to anybody except on Zoom. So I just think that whether you vax or not, it's a personal choice. I am for medical freedom for every single person in here. If you want to wear a mask to protect your child, I totally respect that. I also think, and I've told Dave this, that if Monroe came out at the beginning of the year saying they were going to require masks, my children would both have been in a private school. We can afford private school, 2 private tuitions for our kids. I have a senior, we have a freshman, and we can afford private tuition, but other people cannot. So I think it's only fair that I understand if you have to make adjustments on the fly, but I don't think the masks are helping anything, and I think we have to look at the science and the data that prove that, and take the personal stuff out of it. So, thanks.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Sorry.
When you have a child that's
West Bay.
like when they have a mask on, they're gonna be touching their face all the time. You know what I mean? Like a mask is gonna do more harm than good.
Name and address.
Westbig, 743 Cincinnati Dayton Road. Certified teacher, 7 to 12, former administrator at Lebanon Christian School. I just wanted to say what a truly unique time we are in right now. All I wanted to say was I commend parents of Monroe students for showing up tonight and taking an active role in their students, and commend the board for calling an emergency meeting, because there's a need and they see that and they're addressing it. And I just wanted to say thank you to the board and thank you to the parents, and let you guys know that I think for the most part, we all are supporting you guys.
Thank you.
Jennifer Kaiser. Name and address, please.
Okay. Jennifer Kaiser, 152 Village Court. So I wasn't planning on talking. I just wanted to kind of come and be present. I obviously do not agree with masks, and I do think it's a personal choice. I feel if you want to send your child in a mask all day, every day, by all means, be my guest. But my child will not come to school with a mask on. She's 8 years old. She was in kindergarten when all this started, and it's a scary time. It's a hard time as a parent to explain to your child why you have to wear a mask every day. We complied the first half year when all of this started, and we weren't scared, but we were complying. And it took us a while, but we realized that it does nothing. It does nothing. People are still not respecting space. Just in my personal experience, when I'm out and about, people with masks are the ones who are not social distancing. They're the people who are, when it was all new. So I don't feel they work. We have never caught COVID in our house, and we go everywhere. We do not mask. We are not vaccinated. Many of my family members have caught them, my elderly grandparents, and they're all okay. I think a lot of it comes down to, not always, but sometimes, underlying conditions, and that's why things can go wrong. I'm not a doctor, so that's just my opinion. Also regarding, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But essentially, I do not agree with masks. I don't think my daughter should be in school 8 hours a day in gym class wearing a mask when she can't breathe. She doesn't like them. She has to wear it on the bus for that 20 minutes she's on that bus. And she feels so, I do not send her with a mask to wear on there. They give it to her, and that if they want to supply it for that 20 minutes, okay, because I'm not going to sit in a pickup line for an hour. That 20 minutes I am okay with personally, and that's our family choice. But it's sad that my 8-year-old feels so, what's the word I'm looking for? She feels like she has to wear it because everybody else is. And I do not want that to be the way in school. So another suggestion, I'm sure people, or you guys have talked about it and others have brought it up, but just kind of like Lebanon I think it's a bad example to use Lebanon right now since they're doing all of their stuff and I don't agree with it, but have a class for people who want to send their child in a mask. I mean, if you want to send your child a mask and you don't want them around other children, separate them, segregate them. And that's hard to look at that because it's sad that we're in that time where we're going to do that. But otherwise, I feel it's a personal choice. And yeah, thank you all for being here and allowing me to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
You get 20 seconds.
I think you're at 27 seconds left.
Okay,
No,
I'll
just
only take 25. So I feel like it's our choice as parents.
Name and address.
Bobby Drew, 977
Oh, you
Garber
already
Road.
gave, okay.
I feel like it's our choice as parents, and if you guys take that choice away from me, the trust is completely broken. And I've had a conversation with my kindergartner and my third grader that if anybody tries to make them go to the nurse's office and they're not sick and they didn't ask to go, I've told them, you kick, you scream, you run, you do whatever you have to. You don't go to the nurse's office. If you're not sick and you're not hurt and you didn't ask to go, there's no reason to go. Because I feel like you guys are taking our parental rights slowly but surely, piece by piece. I'm not you guys personally, but you know what I mean. We have no control or no say over how our lives go and how our children's lives go, and that's just not okay. And I really hate to think about my kids getting a vaccine that I didn't allow, because I feel like it could come to that because there's no trust anymore. So please give us the choice. Let us have the choice because it is our choice. It's our children.
Thank you. Leslie King?
Good evening. Thanks for giving me a chance. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but I just do feel
Address.
like,
Just name
I'm
it.
sorry, 100 Turfview Court.
Thank you.
So I have a different perspective from a lot of people in this room that have spoken tonight, in that I am an elementary school teacher and I work in a building that has children 3rd through 6th grade, so they are not eligible to be vaccinated. And I do work in a different district. I don't work in Monroe, so I cannot speak to what's going on in Monroe other than what my own children tell me. But I can tell you, I know that there's always going to be people finding evidence for what they want to believe in. I was terrified to go into school last year. We had 550 children in our building. We had a pandemic with a virus. We weren't sure how everybody was catching it, and we were going in person. And I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to make this work. And my district required masks, just like Monroe last year. And we were like, we're not making it till Labor Day. All the teachers were like, we're not going to get past Labor Day. And we made it past Labor Day, and we were like, we're all still here. And our kids slowly started getting quarantined, but they were getting quarantined because their high school siblings were hanging out outside of school in the community. And that's where they were getting it. All 65 kids on my caseload last year, not one of them picked up COVID. They got quarantined over and over again. My superintendent worked very hard with Butler County to get the quarantine guidelines changed so that they wouldn't be as long for the kids. And I think that was great. And I like that we're always looking at science and looking at the things and trying to make changes. But we wore masks all last year. And I'm telling you, I never got COVID. None of my students got COVID. And we are 2 weeks into this school year with the Delta variant going around, and we already have positive cases in our building. And we're wearing masks. So
it is a highly contagious variant. And I would rather my child be in school with everyone masking and not being quarantined and kicked out or going remote than having the kids not wear masks and having tons of kids getting quarantined. As a teacher, I don't think anyone is looking at it from the perspective of the teacher. It is a nightmare to figure out how to get the education to the kids that are being quarantined, when they're coming back, when they're going out, what did they miss? You can't Zoom with them and teach the kids are in person. It is a nightmare. And then if you're doing some masking, some not masking, the nurse is calling, did they wear a mask today? Did they wear, I don't know, did they wear, I mean, it's a logistical nightmare. If everyone is masked, you just know, and then all the quarantines are reduced. So I just think, I've seen it happen, that masks work.
Thank you. Yeah, all the comments? Appreciate it. Mrs. King, or Mrs. Stone, getting ready to go. And we will move on to item 3.1. Mr. Buskirk.
All right, good evening. I do want to thank again everybody for their interest this evening and coming out to participate. I want to piggyback on what Mr. Grant said earlier. We actually had the discussion because we do the press release every board meeting, and honestly, it was too quiet. We didn't hear anything, so we said, I don't think the word has gotten out. We investigated, and that's why we put it on Facebook. I can assure you we were not trying to hide anything. We have no obligation to put that stuff on Facebook, but we wanted to make sure that everybody got the notice. And I actually thank Mr. Guido for that suggestion. We had that conversation this afternoon. So moving along with this, I shared at the last board meeting, it's a serious issue, not anything that any of us take lightly. Sorry. And I know whatever decision that we make as a district, we're going to make a portion of the families upset, just by the evidence from the speaking participants tonight. People are very passionate. They have their opinions. They have their views. I am not here to change anyone's mind. I'm not going to change anyone's mind. I respect everyone's opinion, but as I said, I will continue to monitor the situation. I'll look at data to see where we are. And I've looked at a lot of data. I look at it every day. I look at the neighboring school districts. Somebody brought up Lebanon. I have two daughters that go to Lebanon. They are sitting at home right now because their school is closed because they have so many students in quarantine. I'm getting text messages all day to get a DoorDash of Jersey Mike's because they're sitting at home. And they need to be in school. Another district closed today. Another district is going to hybrid because the quarantines are so out of control. These are the parameters that we have to follow. Somebody spoke about, I don't care what the governor says. Well, unfortunately, we are bound to those rules. And the quarantine rules are what they are right now. And we were hoping very much that they revised the quarantine rules because we have too many healthy kids sitting at home. And that is wrong. So they came out with their revised guidelines on Tuesday. They changed nothing. They changed absolutely nothing, so we are stuck continuing to follow the current guidelines for quarantines. We had, as of this afternoon, and I'm sure it's grown since I spoke with Mrs. Stratton, as of this afternoon, we had 217 students at home on quarantine. That's not positive cases. Those are healthy students at home on quarantine. And that is wrong. Those kids need to be in school. So, they made it clear when they came out with those guidelines, whether we agree with it or not. The two ways to stay in school are to get vaccinated, and I know that's a very personal choice, and I spoke about my own children with that. The other is to wear a mask. If you're wearing a mask in a school setting, you're not going to get quarantined.
So did it change from last year then?
Yes. They have adjusted the rules. If you are in a classroom setting with a mask, you're not going to get quarantined. You can still get quarantined in the cafeteria settings and some other settings where you're not wearing a mask, but you will not get quarantined in the classroom setting. And again, I'm not gonna debate whether you agree with them or not. I would say if I polled everybody up here that we wouldn't agree with exactly the way the guidelines are. I've tried really hard to get kids to wear the mask to keep in school. I met with all the seniors. I talked about this is your senior year. You're gonna miss out on opportunities because we have no choice. When there are positive cases, we have to follow those quarantine guidelines and work with our health department. 217 kids is too many, and it is affecting our day-to-day operations. When my niece in a neighboring school district, she has, between her and her switch class, there's 6 kids left because everyone is quarantined. We can't function that way as a school district. And unfortunately, our numbers have grown each day. Somebody asked, why didn't we do anything at the last board meeting? We've had over 30 cases since Monday, new cases, which has resulted in probably 150 or more quarantines just this week alone. So I look at that, and my responsibility, again, whether you agree with it or not, is to keep kids in school. We've had to cancel, in addition to keeping them in school, which is most important, we've canceled junior high football for a time period. We've canceled junior high 7th and 8th grade volleyball due to quarantines. They didn't have enough players. The entire junior high cheerleading squad is currently on quarantine. Last night, varsity volleyball had to take a pause because I believe 10 players were quarantined. We can't function that way. And again, whether we like it or not, those are the guidelines we fall under. Being in school is really the most important thing, but I have kids and I know how important those extracurriculars, those outside activities are also. And when they get taken away, it's devastating for them. I talked about my own 2 girls. They wanted to get vaccinated because last year they both were quarantined. They missed basketball games, they missed volleyball games, and it was not a good situation. Our staff has been working very, very hard to try to get these kids in school, keep them in school. But when the guidelines didn't change, I was hoping they would. I was hoping we would get some relief. We didn't. So there's been a few things that happened that made me kind of pause and rethink our situation. I had a phone call from a father earlier this week who his kid was on quarantine. Somebody else spoke about one of their sons or daughters on quarantine, and they talked about how frustrating it was, the at-home experience, even though I think our staff, for the most part, does a really good job with Google Classroom, it is not the same. They need to be here in school. And when he talked about, he said, with these quarantine guidelines, how in the world, what's the end game? How is this going to change? And I didn't have an answer for him, because unless they change, we're going to continue to just quarantine kids. Even then we get kids back from quarantine, more kids are going out, and it's just not a good situation. Another thing, I met with the administrative team, and tomorrow was scheduled the first Hornet Walk. And I've not experienced one, but I've heard it's a great thing. It's a lot of school pride. It's a great experience for the kids. For those of you who don't know, it is the band, the football team, and a number of other, the fall sports and activities. They parade through the hall playing the fight song where they can, through the elementary school. And how cool is that for the little kids to be able to see that? And we could not come up with a safe way under the guidelines to do that. So we had to postpone it. We're working on modifying it so those kids can experience it, because that is important. But again, that bothered me. And then finally, we've got high school homecoming coming up for a week. These seniors have been through so much in the last 2 years, and with 217 kids, we're not gonna have anybody left for homecoming at the rate we're going. And I don't want those kids missing out on their homecoming experiences, all the things that they should experience as students. So when I did that, and I look at the neighboring districts that, they've had to cancel football games, they've closed, it's just not a situation. And then the final data point I want to share with everyone is that neighboring district, Lakota, close to 16,000 students. That's more than 5 times the amount of students that we have. they have mandated masks from day one. And whether we like it or not, the rules of quarantine, they currently, with more than 5 times the amount of students, they only have 167 kids in quarantine. So with that, with the parameters in place, I unfortunately, at this point, and just wait till the end because I do have additional, I am recommending with the board's support that starting on Tuesday after the long weekend that we will require all students and staff to wear masks while indoors until further notice. We already have existing board policy as 8450.01 that about mask requirements that allows us to institute this when we feel the need. I know there's going to be questions about details. Again, it's inside only. They don't have to wear them at recess. That's something different than it was last year. But I will send out communication to all families tomorrow, starting with that. This is something that I monitor daily, and as conditions change, we will adjust accordingly, just as we have now. Medical experts, health departments, they've all talked about this Delta variant that is so contagious, and the cases go out of control and it goes climb, and then it just falls off. Well, we're all praying that falling off happens soon enough, and maybe we can go back to adjustments. So finally, I just wanted to share, a gentleman asked, he said he would like to get, hopefully Monroe could get in on the that pilot with the Ohio Department of Health. It's actually not the governor, it's the health department, the Ohio Health Department. And I was in that group of superintendents that sent that pilot proposal to them. And just as, always with politicians, I apologize for that, but we talked about it. We're not physicians, so obviously our proposal is not going to get approved right away. So the health commissioner has a team of medical experts. They're looking at it. They're making adjustments, but it is a real step forward of keeping healthy kids in school. And if we can get to that point, hopefully our numbers are down and we can get to the point where we can give back the choice to parents and families as to what to do.
It's still my choice. And what are you going to do when my kid comes to school without masks? Are you going to expel him from the 3rd grade and kindergarten?
There are medical exemptions that we have online, and you are able to fill those out if there is a medical need. But please just let me finish. So again, working with that, it is, we will continue to look at it. Hopefully we can get to the point where we can have the pilot going forward, where if a kid is exposed, there are things that we will have in place that they can continue in school with safety measures in place. And that is what they're working on right now, but they would not have to miss school. And that is my responsibility, is to keep the children in school.
So with this mask mandate, when the numbers are
I update that every week. Absolutely, every week.
The ones that are already vaccinated.
For right now, going with working with the medical experts, they want everybody till our numbers decline.
There are 70 districts, I said today, there are 7 districts in the state of Ohio that are not following any quarantine guidelines, and I want to know why Monroe is choosing to follow this, because these are recommendations, they are not mandates from the governor. We do not have to follow anything from ODH or our county, period. Mandates are not followed.
So we, just to answer that real quickly, trust me, we have looked into this, we have looked into it legally, and we have been told that we absolutely have to follow them.
So my question is, because we don't mask at home, and I know, again, in healthcare, most of the people who have had lung infections from masking, what responsibility then does the school take when a child has an illness that is directly caused from a mask that's required?
We had a notice of liability.
What liability does the school have for causing harm in that case?
So for me, again, let me just close with this, because I'm not going to go back and forth here all evening. Like I said, I'm not going to change anybody's opinion. This is not an easy decision for me. It's not anything I take lightly. And please let me finish. Please let me finish. this is where we are right now. I don't like it, but I need to keep the kids in school, and that is what I was hired, to keep the kids in school.
I was just going to say, I mean, for me, like I have my own personal feelings about this whole issue. It's difficult for me to separate my personal feelings between what's necessary to keep, as you said, healthy kids in school. I'll share what Ms. King said. She's at a district that has been fully masked since school started, and they still are having positive cases in there. This decision is not about whether masks are good or not, has nothing to do with that. It's about what the Ohio Health Department says this is necessary to keep your kid from being quarantined. You just can't continue to do it. It's just not, just, can I?
I wanted answers from the board tonight on why schools are.
Can I finish?
Ignoring it. Yeah.
So I support your decision. Very difficult for me to do that, but I absolutely 100% support your decision to do this. I'll take your word that you're going to relook at this as things change, and we'll continue to push for the changes with the quarantine guidelines.
Do any of your kids go to Monroe?
No, we all live in Monroe.
Do your kids go to Monroe?
Not anymore. My son's graduated.
So none of you have children that go to Monroe?
No, we do. We do.
Their kids are graduating.
No, it's not accurate. Have accurate
Mine.
information.
Quiet. Let's just go.
Mr. Leeds, do
No.
you have anything to say? I'm gonna.
Yeah, so if I might chime in a little bit. So I do have kids who currently go to Monroe. I have a child that's a freshman in high school. I have a child that's a sixth grader. And I have a child that's a fourth grader. Just like most of you, when this school year began, I said, cool, we can go to school, we can see our teachers, we can see their faces, and our kids can have a normal school year. As the cases have started to increase over this past week, the message that my wife and I, who's also works here at the school, that we gave to our kids was, here's your options. You can wear a mask. You will not be quarantined. You will not miss out on soccer. You will not miss out on softball. You will not miss out on cross country if you wear a mask. Your team needs you to wear a mask. That's what your team needs you to do right now. Sometimes your team needs you to run up a hill. Cool, my daughter will do that. All of them will do whatever their team needs them to do. I have no idea what they do when they come to school. That's fine, right? That's an option that I gave them. We've explained to them why that we need them to do that, right? I would like to think that we are all a team here in Monroe. I think that's the reason we moved here, my wife and I, because this community is very much different than where we were living before. We can all disagree with something, but at the end of the day, we're one big team. So what I think we need to step back and look at this as a team and say, right now, what does my team need me to do? And right now, what our team needs us to do is put this stupid thing back on our face so that I don't want to do it, right? I'm not going to lie. Okay, the public comment period has closed already. Now it's our turn to talk. Right now, this is what my team needs me to do. This is what I have to do at work. I've had to do it since last March, and it's silly. I understand. I agree. I got vaccinated too. So when I still have to put this thing on, it's silly. But that's what our team needs me to do. So you can be mad, you can have feelings about it whichever way you want, and I totally understand. I have feelings too, right? I get worked up and I can get a little heated about things. I love to engage in conversation, and that's fine. So I understand, but right now I fully support Mr. Buskirk and the decision that the school has made.
Let me ask one question. Are the superintendents in the state, are they hammering on ODH to say, hey, guys, we asked for a change, now get one made?
Yep, we absolutely have been, and this pilot is the first time they've been responsive, so I really do think it's a step forward. They say it's not going away, that we're gonna have to live with it forever, so we have to start to function, because right now we're not functioning. So hopefully when we get, as soon as they iron out the details about the pilot, I will get information out, and hopefully in the next couple weeks we can begin that.
Okay, I guess the question that the public has, and I have too, what is the timetable on the pilot that we know of?
Right. Well, again, it's dealing with the state government, so I'm not sure. I'm hoping our request was to get stuff in the next couple weeks started. Hopefully next week's the 7th, hopefully around the 13th, but we're at the mercy of the Ohio Health Department right now, so.
Well, I'm like, Brett, you have my support to do what needs to be done, but I want the masks done away with as soon as we can, like everybody else. I don't like to wear the damn things,
Yep.
but we have to.
Yep.
And I don't think that I agree with the public. I don't think that they block anything. I mean, I heard on the news that a mask, if you put a mask on, you can smell cigarette smoke. It's not worth a darn. So,
Why are you voting for it?
there's no else you can do.
So you don't agree, why you all voting for it?
Well, we have to have, if the state gets off their butt and do something, we can do it. We can make changes.
I appreciate the upfront related, but we hired you as a community in order to listen to us. I feel like you listened to us and voted the opposite direction.
We have to keep the kids in school. We're not going to be able to keep them in school unless we follow what we're doing. We just can't do it.
Can I
Go ahead.
interject a little bit? So, unfortunately, we as a district, not just Monroe, every district in the state, have a list of guidelines that have to be followed, okay? And I know, Andrew, you sent me those, and I was driving back from Dayton, so I have not had a chance to look through them, and I have not had a chance to forward those on to Mr. Buskirk, but I will be reviewing those tonight. But with that said, those guidelines, there's quarantines in those guidelines, and those are what is causing an issue. We are quarantining healthy kids. That is the issue. Mr. Buskirk, Mrs. K. Hall, Mrs. Long, Mrs. Stratton, Mr. Catanzaro, everybody on our administration team, and everybody that's in this building is hired to do one thing: educate our kids and give them the best education that we can. And I feel Monroe gives the best education in all of Butler County, hands down. With that said, it's their job to keep kids in the building. I believe kids learn better without a mask. They need to see that teacher. They need to have that interaction. I believe that. But with that being said, unfortunately, there's a set of rules that are out of our control. I hate masks. I don't want anyone to wear a mask. I'm not a fan of them. I want kids to have normalcy back. All we're asking for, and I think Mr. Buskirk is asking for, he said it at the last meeting, if the numbers are going to spike, we are going to have a temporary mask to validate the numbers and make sure that those numbers, and see what they do, we can get them to drop. All we're asking for is just a little bit. I know I heard you earlier that it started out last March with a 15 days flatten the curve, and here we are 18 months later. That's the government. Here's what I don't like. The one thing that really irks me, and I might get a little irritated here because I'm passionate about these kids. all right? I love Monroe through and through. I've only been here 19 years, but I love this town and I love this school. The last thing that really irritates me is whether you're on I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, politics don't belong in school. And when I see politics and our kids being used as pawns in a political game, that's where I have a problem. And unfortunately, it is a game, in my opinion, and I'm calling it out as that. But what I'm saying is, unfortunately, we have no choice.
Well, let Monroe be yeah.
Hold on.
Let Monroe be
Okay.
whatever you want to call it, a live pub.
Mr. Buzzkirk mentioned legal counsel. The last thing we want to do is we don't want to.
With all the parents that are of stance, that we have a stance, we can stand behind you guys. Because every one of us.
I understand.
Our kids come to school with no mask. What happens? Yeah. What happens? What are they going to do to us? We can all sign up.
My point is, I'm going to agree with Tim here. Listen, the why I love Monroe, I just said it the other night. I love Monroe for one reason. Hold on. Public comments are over, okay? I gave everyone ample time to speak. Monroe is great about one thing, and that is rallying around a cause. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a sports team, whether it's someone sick, whether it's not. All I'm asking for, and the board's asking for, is just give us a couple weeks to just wear the mask and let this pilot program come into play and let the pilot program run its course. The pilot program is going to be a game changer. As Mr. Buzzkirk said, it is going to change the course of what happens. And I hope it comes sooner rather than later, but it needs to be approved. There needs to be amendments to it. None of us sitting up here, and I think I can speak for everyone, want to mandate masks. We don't. We understand where your feelings are. I'm just asking you, as Tim said, just help the team out. That's all we want you to do. And so, Mr. Buzzkirk, even though I can't stand masks, I give you 100% support to keep the kids educated in the building and let them finish this school year, and let's get back to some normalcy sooner rather than later.
Well, I can share what we proposed and what they're looking at. We proposed that right now the rules are that if you are vaccinated, you do not have to quarantine. It is recommended that you wear a mask for 2 weeks. We said if you're unvaccinated, instead of staying home, you check symptoms each day and you are required to wear a mask for the quarantine period. They have looked at it and they are adding a at-home test for the students during that quarantine time. They can still come to school. They're required to wear that mask for the 10 to 7 days, depending on the test, and then test on day 3 and test on day 5 to 8. But as long as they have no symptoms and they test negative those 2 times, they can remain in school. And really, they're only wearing the mask for those 5 to 7 days. I don't know if that's where they will end up. That is a big game changer. It keeps healthy kids in schools. It also tests kids to make sure that because sometimes they are symptomatic and we don't want them spreading, it tests them to make sure if they are a carrier, they stay home for that time. So again, this was a group effort by, not myself, but a number of superintendents in the area. And but like I said, we are not doctors. We are going on our experiences of what happens every day and in the uphill battle we've been fighting with the quarantines and keeping kids at home. And if we can do that, then we can go back to it's the choice for the parents that and it'll still be a choice. Some people don't want, some people are even against testing. So if you don't want to test, you can still keep your kid home during that quarantine period.
Quick question. So if we're mandating a mask policy starting that Tuesday, does that end everyone's quarantine? Does the school all going to be wearing a mask?
we don't have that pilot yet to bring those kids back. But I'm hoping that until we get the pilot started, our it's more than 217 now, kids are home, that we don't expose, because we are it is highly, I think we got a notice from Butler County today that the number of positive cases in Butler County is like 2.5 times whatever the highest rate is. So it's definitely spreading in Butler County. Go ahead.
Does this change anything for sporting events or things?
It's everything is outdoors. There's no capacities right now. Outdoors, there's no mask requirements. For indoor requirements for, I think the only fall sport indoors is volleyball, so there would be a mask requirement for volleyball games. Again, I saw some people rolling their eyes. It doesn't make sense. I understand that. I'm going to the Miami UC game on Saturday, and there will be tens of thousands of people there, and I guarantee they won't be wearing masks. For some reason, right now, they are holding schools accountable to different rules. And so we have to work under those rules, and hopefully in a couple weeks, we can get to the point where we can function in a normal setting. Yes. Yes.
So, hypothetically saying all through the I mean, COVID obviously not going to go away for all the different parents. This become a part of not say the norm, but I mean, it kind of just become how we call it.
For the immediate future, yes. But the one thing that I will tell you, I told Mr. Grant today, that the one thing we know about COVID, it makes no sense and it makes up its own rules. And so as soon as we adjust, things change and we have to adjust.
Are we going to do this with the flu also if it ever comes back?
Again, we are following the rules of the health department, and I know some people don't want us to, but we have to do that. So,
just to be clear, I have 2 daughters who go to school here. One of my daughters in high school, her friend had close contact. She had a test done that said she was negative. Then she could come back to school, right? So if my daughter gets close contact and is quarantined within 3 to 5 days, it says here in the guidelines that they have a PCR negative test, they can come back to school.
are you looking at the pilot proposal?
I'm looking at
The current guidelines?
exposure in K through 12 classroom settings.
If she gets a test on day 5 currently, she can come back after day 7.
Okay, so she would have to be out of school for 2 full weeks.
No, 7, just 7 days. Just 7. Yes. And again, with the proposal that goes through, she wouldn't have to stay home at all.
So Monroe, the contemplating of is to enroll your kids here now and have to submit your other vaccinations. If you do the pilot and you're going to have different treatments for people who are vaccinated and not vaccinated, it seems fair that you don't really do that part. They're already parents that can be the same in their lives. And then if they're vaccinated, they don't need to get quarantined.
Again, we're working with the Ohio Department of Health. At this point, I'm not sure.
All right. Thank you guys very much for attending.
Anybody ever answer what will happen if all of the kids, all the parents send their kids to school with no mask? What happens? What do they do?
We are required to send them home unless they have a medical exemption. The medical exemption can be found online, and when I send out communication tomorrow, I'll have a direct link to it.
What other exemptions are available?
That's all we have at this.
So with that being said, hey, we'll end the meeting. Any comments and anything, you can contact any of us on the school board. You can contact Mr. Buskirk. Or Mr. Leeds, any final comments?
No comment.
Mr. Guido?
I've listened to every comment that's made tonight, and I agree with both sides. This is not a win-win situation for anybody. So I appreciate you guys having the guts to stand up and speak.
My turn, all right. Very similar to Mr. Guido. And what Mr. Grant said earlier, we would love for all of you to come back to our next meeting. Because unfortunately we never get this kind of turnout. So I would love for you guys to come back. So consider this an open invitation to every school board meeting. All of our school board meetings you can find on our website. There's a calendar that says district. All of the meetings are listed on there on the district calendar. They take place here, 6 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you guys at all of our meetings. We'll finally have an audience. We've been trying so hard to have an audience, so I'm glad we finally have an audience. But again, we hear you. We understand where everybody's coming from. So don't feel like we're ignoring anybody. That's not the case here. This is a decision that we're making where we're trying to create a solution that best suits our students. That's our job. That's what we're trying to do. So again, I appreciate everybody for coming. I appreciate everybody who has tuned in on YouTube. And and again, I do want to apologize if you're on one side of this. I do apologize that our decision is not seen in the greatest light. I understand that. But again, just we got to do what we got to do. So
Thank you. And thank you again for everyone that attended and spoke. We do hear you. I listened to the voicemails. I listened to read the emails. The last month, there's been quite a few. And I try to respond as best as I can. Again, I'm just going to echo, we're a community, and that's what makes Monroe great. And that's why I moved here 19 years ago, and that's why I've stayed 19 years. And let's come together. And I don't know when. I'm hoping the pilot starts sooner rather than later, and we can get back to getting healthy kids, back in the building where they belong. And that's the ultimate goal that we've got to get. We got to get healthy kids back in the building. And so with that being said, thank you again for attending. Mrs. Cahall, I'll make a motion for an adjournment at 7:23. May I have a motion, please? We can have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mr. Guido,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye.